Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita session this evening. We're continuing our journey through the Bhagavad Gita, and we are on chapter 11. I welcome you all. I'm happy to be back from my visit in New York City and wonderful festival there. I'm very happy to return here and to be with you all this evening. So let's begin with chapter 11. And we're going to do this chapter, at least this segment tonight, a little bit differently than I normally do it because the way it's structured, I think it's better that I read all the verses first and then I begin to explain it to you verse by verse. Once we read it, kind of absorbed it, then I'll discuss and explain. So, as we normally do, I'll begin with the Sanskrit. And this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11. Texts 10 and 11 are together in this version, Prabhupada's version. So, this is the Sanskrit. Aneka Vaktra Nayanam, Anekadbhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divya Bharanam. Divya Neko Jatayudham. And the translation to that reads as follows. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. Text 12. We'll just read the English from here on out now. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Text 13. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. Text 14. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. Text 15. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents." Text 16. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. Text 17. Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, spreading on all sides like blazing fire or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs. Text 18. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. Text 19. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. And text 20, well, I think we'll stop here. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. So, very intense observation that Arjuna is sharing with us. And one word that you see repeated again and again through those verses, and it's he uses one word and then a synonym to that word. Aneka means many. So he's saying Aneka Vaktra Nayanam, Aneka Bhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divya Bharanam, Divya Neko Jata Yudham. So the Lord possessed countless or many mouths and eyes, countless wonderful visions, many celestial ornaments, and many uplifted divine weapons. So that word, many or countless or unlimited, is used throughout these verses, the 10 that I just read, and the subsequent verses after that, which we'll read, probably won't get till the next class. But Srila Prabhupada explains that every form of life exists within Krishna. So you can imagine Arjuna heard about this Virat Rupa, and this chapter is called the Yoga of the universal form, vision, darshan, or vision of the universal form, that yoga. As I said to you previously, all the chapters by the previous saints and acharyas, they're called, describe each chapter as a yoga. The first chapter is Arjuna's distress yoga. Second chapter, Sankhya yoga, the yoga of analysis, understanding distinction between matter and spirit. Then karma yoga, understanding action. How do we connect to the Supreme through our action? And so on and so forth. So this is the universal form chapter. This is where Krishna, in the 10th chapter, if you remember, Krishna was saying, I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am of all the aquatics. I am the shark. And he goes through all of these different splendors, because Krishna is saying splendorous. All of these things are splendorous, and all the most essential or the most potent things like bodies of water, the ocean, the wind, the purifier, all these things he's giving us an understanding. Verbally, he's giving us an understanding. Now, Arjuna, after hearing all of these splendors of the Supreme, all of the opulences of the Supreme, when we get into the 11th chapter, now Arjuna is saying, can you show it to me? Can you all these splendorous things? You know, demigods, you are Lord Shiva. Now, can you show me all these things? Arjuna not really knowing, what he's going to witness or how Krishna is going to manifest all of these things. When we think on a linear basis, don't we? I know my mind thinks in terms of a linear basis or a list. This is here, and then after that is this. But Krishna, the Virat Rupa, or the universal form, when he manifests it, everything that's in the universe, he manifests it at one time, in one place, in one gigantic form. All the demigods and the saints and the various types of saints and the material elements, all the things that we've been discussing, all the things that Krishna has been revealing to us in the Bhagavad Gita, which comprise the material universe and also make up the spiritual realm. Krishna is revealing all of these things. All of the demigods are there. So when he says aneka, so that means unlimited eyes. All you can imagine. Just try to imagine all living entities with eyes in the universe. That's there. All the various demigods. There are 33 million prominent demigods. All their eyes and their faces and their mouths and their arms, all of these things are there. So Prabhupada is remarking here, every form of life exists within Krishna, and every direction contains his presence. And we were talking about that before when I was describing the manifestation of the Supreme, or the manifestation of God in immanence, and meaning that he is within everything and he is the essence of everything. And to see that as we go out, we see the sun and the light, the brilliance of the sun. Or we go out in a beautiful full moon evening and we see that beauty of the moon. So just by thinking of that beauty in relationship to who has created that beauty in that particular form, that's called immanence. Transcendence means that we understand that God has a transcendental form, and this transcendental form is not like any other form. Quite often, people are attracted to the concept of oneness because form, God having a form and we having an eternal form, means relationship. And loving relationship means between two. And what's our experience in the material world with relationships? We can see it just in the statistics of divorce. I think in the United States, it's something like 50 or 60% of marriages end up in divorce. So relationship, and then you have good relationship with your parents. A lot of people have bad relationships with their parents, especially here in the United States and the Western world. You don't see that as much in India. India is very family. It's a tight family structure. But here in the Western world, you see people have traumatized by what happens in their youth. So this is relationship. When one thinks of eternal relationship, one's not attracted to that because they're thinking in terms of material relationship. But that's the one thing that Bhagavad Gita is trying to clarify, that God is omnipotent, omniscient, that he is unlimited, omnipotent, unlimited power, unlimited wisdom. And that is all contained in the Adi Purush, in the original form from which all forms emanate. It's described that man is made in the image of God. So what does that mean? It means that we have form, both genders, both male form and female form, because there is an original form. There's the Shakti, there's the feminine energy, the feminine aspect of God, represented by Radha or Lakshmi or Parvati. And then there is the unlimited, eternal form of the Supreme. Now, according to our lineage, the Bhakti Yoga lineage, all forms emanate from Krishna, from the Supreme. Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, all demigods, Ganesh, Durga, Parvati, all these various forms, all these names that you may have heard bandied about in the yoga world. You may have heard that, but this universal form, the revelation of the universal form, is showing from whence it all came. Where does it come from? And here Krishna is showing Arjuna in that one place. They are sitting on a chariot in the middle of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Arjuna requests Krishna to show me this Virat Rupa, this universal form. And Krishna says, I'd like to show it to you, but you don't have the eyes to see it. And that's why we don't see it. And to the degree that we immerse ourselves only in the aspect of the material energy, there's material energy and there is spiritual energy. And if we are only focusing and relating to the material energy, the earth, the water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. These are the 8 material elements which make up everything that we see in this material world. And if that's our world, if that's our perspective, that's all we see. And therefore, that's what we invest in. And when we invest in the material energy as our only existence, then we experience everything that the material energy produces, which is change, being temporary. And within the material energy, when you interact within the material energy, there's suffering. Buddha in the first Four Noble Truths, first thing he says is all is suffering. So those great spiritual teachers, Buddha, Krishna, all the Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all point to the fact that if you invest your energy, your human energy, because there are many species, 8,400,000 species it's described, but the human form, the human species is opportunity. Because the human species, we have the opportunity to ask questions and to find purpose in life. Whereas in all other species below the human species, they exist within their species without the capability of seeing beyond that. Due to the level of consciousness each species has, they can only see according to that level of consciousness. But human consciousness can expand to such a great amount, a great degree, that it can understand that there is purpose, there is reason for us being here in this particular form. And how we get this particular form. There's a reason behind that. We see all of these things. We have the ability to understand that, and we have the ability to inquire. How is it so? And that capability for inquiry into why, when we ask that question, why am I here? What is my purpose in life? When we exercise that capability, then that means we are really using our human form of life. We're using it properly because we have that ability, but we're not using it, and therefore we don't see answers or hear answers. But when we exercise that muscle, that ability, that reason, we have the blessing in this human level of consciousness to hear and to understand purpose behind it all. So what Krishna is now giving us, he first tells Arjuna of his opulences. Now he's showing Arjuna these opulences. So every form of life exists within Krishna. Every direction, there's all the directions. There's north, south, east, west. northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, in all the various directions, the presence of the Supreme is there. And he mentions these weapons. Every weapons represents something. They're not just weapons of violence, but they're weapons which demonstrate that God will protect. And Krishna, in one verse in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, "Declare it boldly, Arjuna, my devotee never perishes." So these weapons are not symbols of violence, but they're manifestations of God's justice. Everywhere Arjuna is looking, everywhere he sees mouths, eyes, ornaments, arms, and they're all appearing endlessly, because you can imagine, or maybe you can't, it's hard for us to imagine, everything that exists in the universe is contained in this form and is visible to Arjuna at this point. Now, first Krishna says you don't have the eyes to see. So how is it? What's the transition there? Where Arjuna, first Krishna tells him, you don't have the eyes to see. Therefore, you wouldn't be able to see it. But what happens? What happens is that Krishna gives Arjuna the eyes to see. That is why bhakti is called the yoga of grace, or the yoga of mercy. Krishna blesses. Out of Krishna's mercy, he gives Arjuna the ability to see this. Because otherwise, he wouldn't be able to see it. And that is why we can't see it. We're hearing about it, and we're getting a very vivid, detailed description of the universal form here. But will we go outside and will we see it? Will we stand in my backyard and will I be able to see? I'm able to see many wonders in my backyard, trees and butterflies and insects and dogs and birds and you know, so many wonders, but to see everything? No, I don't have the eyes to see. And Arjuna was blessed. So his mind, you know, he gets disoriented at first. You can imagine his mind cannot find a beginning or center. It really can't make clear what this is and where the beginning is. You know, we are used to seeing things, you know, from the beginning to its end, but this is beginningless, limitless. That's why Krishna uses the word again and again, aneka, many, without limit, ananta, without limit, ananta rupa, a form without limit. Repeated. The 10 verses that I just recited must use that word unlimited 10, 20, 30 times, because everything that Arjuna is seeing is unlimited. All the various forms and arms and various types of species and demigods, all these, it's just an unlimited, unfathomable a presence of the Supreme within this form. This vision is overwhelming his perception. These countless forms, according to one great acharya, Baladev Vidyabhushan, the many eyes that Krishna is talking about here, this means omniscience. That means you can see everything, omniscience. Omnipotence, the many arms, is representative of God's omnipotence. Omniscience is representative of his all-knowing capability. And omnipresence, so many eyes represents omniscience, all-knowing. Omnipotence, many arms. And omnipresence, being everywhere at all times, is represented by the many faces. Each feature that he's talking about corresponds to one of the three divine qualities of omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. So what is the lesson to be learned in this couple of verses there, the 10 and 11? That God is never limited by the notion of form, the concept of form. Many people will not accept that there is one supreme God because they feel that form is limited. That would be limiting. But it's not, because in Bhagavad Gita and other sacred texts, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly and specifically in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many mentions of unlimited form of Krishna. That this is not an ordinary form. Ajopi son of Yatma, unborn. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. If you remember that we were reading in the 4th chapter, there's a series of verses when Krishna is establishing his divinity. There's a series of verses that he recites, which gives us an understanding. He says, Ajo pisan avyatma, bhutanam ishwaro pisan. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates. So right here, Krishna is saying his unborn transcendental form, it never deteriorates. And then prakritim swam adishtaya sambhavam yatmamayaya. And although I am the Lord of all entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So he repeats it twice here. My body is not an ordinary body. It's not like our body. Krishna never aged beyond 16 years of age. Do you wish that would be your situation? You know, as we age, as we progress, we see our aging, we see the melting of the form right before our very eyes, the graying of the hair, the weakening of the eyes, the wrinkles, all the things that we see. That's because the form, the material form that we are in, is temporary. It's just a combination of material elements and designated for a period of time according to our karma. Each body that we give has a number of breaths determined by our karma. And when we exhaust that number of breaths, death is there. So karmically, you may have enough breaths in your body to live 9 years. So you can die at 9. I had a nephew that passed away from cancer at 9 years old. Right in our wonderful community here of devotees, and one family had an amazing daughter, Mehek, Madhurya Radha, who was 9 years old when she passed away. So the amount of breaths given to a personality is based on A, their karma or karmic reaction, or B, they've done what they had to do in this material world. Material world is a place where we rehabilitate ourselves. Just like a prison is supposed to be a place of rehabilitation. You go there, you commit some crime, and then you're sentenced according to the how grave the gravity of the crime. You get a sentence. Some people are in jail for 1 year. Some people are in jail for 10 years. Some people are in jail for 50 years. Some people are in jail their whole entire life. So we are put into this material world because there's error in our perspective in relationship to our eternal being and and as an eternal being in relationship to God. So when we have that misunderstanding, miscalculation, then we need to be rehabilitated. We need to understand our eternality and our subservience to God, that our relationship to God, our eternal dharma, our eternal duty, our eternal responsibility, Sanatan Dharma, is to serve God and not to be God. Some people will say, oh, I am God. And Krishna here, Prabhupada has said, this universal form, one of the many reasons that the universal form was manifest was it was proof that God manifest in this world in his original transcendental form as Krishna. So when someone says, I am God, the next question you should ask is, okay, can you please show me your universal form? Because that is proof. And that's one of the reasons Prabhupada says for the manifestation of this universal form. So God is never limited by form. He has, as he says here, transcendental body never deteriorates. And I appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. And so what does he say again after that? Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So it means he's eternally present, but he will make a descent appear into this world for those who want to see him, to know him, and to understand him, and to take shelter. He'll come again and again to help us because we're never abandoned. No matter what mistake that we've made, there's always room for repentance. There's always room for remorse. There's always room within the realm of God's existence for forgiveness. And that's why he says, I come again and again. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities. Listen to this carefully. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So all of these various expressions of knowledge by Krishna is to give us that understanding, or at least initially that faith. We may not be able to understand very clearly, but we have that faith that what Krishna is saying is the truth. Because we have faith. It's a matter of where we repose our faith. It's not like, oh, I don't have any faith. We have faith. We have faith in so many things. It's not that, there is no existence of faith. That's only for religious sentimentalists. No, but people have faith. They have faith that they're going to wake up in the morning. They have faith in so many things. They have faith in their president or their prime minister. When the president, when the person is running for president, he tells them so many things, right? Campaign promises, they're called. And a person has, okay, I have faith in this person. I believe in this person. He's telling me there's not going to be war on my watch. I have faith in that. He's telling me that the economy is going to get really, really fabulous, and we're all going to be living on milk and honey. We have faith. We put faith in so many things. So reposing one's faith in the wisdom that God gives us, that is the proper exercise of our intelligence. So we're hearing. That's why it's so important to hear. Shravanam, Kirtanam. These are the two first aspects of devotional service to the Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam, then Vishnu Smaranam. By hearing about the Supreme Lord, by chanting about the Supreme Lord, then we develop remembrance of our connection. What is our connection? And remembrance of that connection. So this is a very important principle to understand. I have a whole description of the various perspectives, but I think they're too long and too difficult to explain at this point in time. It tells us and I've mentioned this before about Advaita philosophy, that there is no individuality, there is no transcendental form. It's just spiritual energy. That's called the Advaita. And then there's the Vishishta Dvaita, which means there is that unity, but within that unity, living entities live there. The material energy lives there. That's called Vishishta Dvaita by Ramanujacharya. And then there's Dvaita by Madhvacharya, which means everything exists independently, simultaneously. God, the living entity, matter. And then there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is actually our bhakti lineage, which describes that there is simultaneously all of those perceptions exist. The oneness is there, but it's not the only manifestation of God, because the oneness, Advaita, doesn't accept that God can have a transcendental form. So in essence, it's rejecting what Krishna says here. And one of the principles of spiritual knowledge and spiritual advancement is the study and understanding and the implementation of the knowledge, the wisdom that's within Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying, Ajo Pisanam Yatma. So my unborn transcendental form. So it kind of refutes that. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his exposition of the philosophy, he talks about that. So everything is transcendental. Nothing within the universal form is material. Everything is there. Everything is connected to the Supreme Lord. So text 12, if thousands of sun arose simultaneously in the sky, their brilliance might resemble that radiance. So here, Sanjay, remember we talked about two different dialogues that go on in Bhagavad Gita, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, and the secondary dialogue between Sanjay and Dhritarashtra. So Sanjay is speaking now. He doesn't speak much, but he is, I guess, there's Krishna speaks the most in Gita, then Arjuna, and then Sanjay. And Dhritarashtra, I think, only says one thing in the beginning. So trying to give us a metaphor that will help us to understand what Arjuna was experiencing. And he compared, the sun is very bright and the sunshine is brilliant, is it not? I mean, if you look into the sun, it kind of blinds you for a second. The glare that comes. I had my eyes operated on in September and had the cataracts removed and lens put in. But one of the downsides of those new lenses is there's a lot of glare. So when I go out into the sun, like today when the sun was shining really brightly, there's a lot of glare for me. So this glare, this brilliance, in order for us to get an understanding of this universal form and its transcendental feature, Sanjaya is comparing it to the manifestation of thousands and thousands and millions of suns, of thousands of suns. If they arose simultaneously at one time, what would that brilliance be like? And that is the brilliance that was coming off of the Virat Rupa. This is probably one of the most famous verses there. So this comparison, as I said, it's more or less approximate. It's not exact that you can say, oh, the universal forms of brilliance is thousands of suns. But it's an approximation to give us some insight to how brilliant the manifestation of God in this form is. Even thousands of suns in actuality cannot be equal to Krishna's splendor. So material light, when we have the material light that's there, that's coming from the spiritual realm. That's coming from Krishna. That is the illumination that is emanating from Krishna's body. So, yeah. The lesson to be learned: everything brilliant in creation is only a tiny reflection of Krishna's effulgence. As Krishna already declared, whatever is magnificent comes from just a spark of his splendor. If you remember in the 10th chapter, Krishna ended the 10th chapter with that verse. So let's move on to text 13. Tatraikastam jagat kritsnam pravibhaktam aneka da. Now here again we have aneka. All universes unlimitedly existing within one body. And Prabhupada says that this confirms that every planet, every species, every demigod, every event is existing within Krishna. Nothing exists independently. And that's the brilliance of Lord Chaitanya. Nothing exists independently, but yet there is independence. We are independent individuals that are eternally connected through love with the supreme form, God, Krishna. So there is dependence. We are dependent because on that relationship. We have that loving relationship, but we remain individuals. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's the 11th or 12th verse, Krishna says, "Never was there a time when I did not exist." God, Krishna, did not exist, nor you, Arjuna. You are eternally individual. Nor all these kings, nor in the future shall we cease to be. And Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitanam, Eko Bahadam Yavidate Kam. So this is a verse from the Upanishads, and it's a verse from Bhagavad Gita, which states or declares that individuality. But the connection, according to Lord Chaitanya, the connection is through love relationship. And you've had that experience, right? When you're in love with someone, you feel truly connected to that person. And what is that connection? That connection is the love that is spawned from relationship. So Krishna is saying that every planet, every species, every demigod, every event exists within Krishna. Another great acharya within the Bhakti Yoga lineage says, normally the mind thinks many universes occupy much space. Instead, all space itself exists inside Krishna. So actually, it's flipped. We're thinking things exist within space. So, yes, they do, but that space itself exists within God. So that's why the relationship, as we understand it, is actually reversed. And this demonstrates how God, his position as the source and support of all realities. The universe is within God, not that God is within the universe or God is part of the universe, but the universe and everything within the universe exists within God. Simultaneously, he is not limited by his form. His form is not limitation. Our form may be seen as a limitation. We can only do so much. We can only eat so much. We can only do so much. We have limitations that are placed on us by our form. And that's why we are the finite living entity living in this little macrocosmic universe of material elements. This is our universe. Our body is our universe. But we're very, very finite. We live within this universe of material elements. And because we're living within that universe, the elements are activated, they're motivated, they move, they walk, they talk, they think, they have discriminatory power. But that's because the living entity is within that limited universe, that microcosmic universe. The macrocosmic universe, everywhere, all living entities, that's what's being described here. That's the macrocosmic universe. And that everything within that macrocosm is motivated by the presence of the Supreme. And Krishna is giving us that understanding. Text 14. What is Arjuna's reaction to this? When we look at Arjuna, he says in the 14th verse, then bewildered, astonished, he becomes so much is there. He becomes bewildered by it. He's astonished by it. His hair standing on end. What does that mean, hair standing on end? It's described in the sacred text, the bhakti text, when one experiences ecstasy, spiritual ecstasy. There are many different things that ecstasy causes within the body. One of the things that it causes is the hairs. Oh, my hair is standing on end. I'm getting goosebumps, right? We've said that when we experience something great. But because of the ecstasy, the spiritual impact of what he is seeing, his hair, he's going into bliss, he's getting confused. He's saying Arjuna is so bewildered and astonished and so blissed out that immediately the relationship changes. What is the relationship? First, the relationship with Arjuna and Krishna was friendship. Then the relationship evolved to where Arjuna became bewildered in the first chapter and he accepts Krishna as his teacher. So there's a transition in the relationship from the friendship to teacher. But then now Arjuna is in this universal form. Now he realizes who Krishna actually is. And it's not that he didn't know. It's just that, for the unfolding of the Leela of Bhagavad Gita, that this occurs. Arjuna, he is a great soul. He is an intimate associate of Krishna, but he takes on this role for our benefit. So to demonstrate exactly how powerful the understanding or the realization of the manifestation of the Supreme Lord in this form is, and how absolutely proof positive that Krishna is the supreme. Arjuna does not become proud by him being blessed in such a way. He becomes humble. So what does that mean? That means when we are gaining knowledge, the result of pure spiritual knowledge is humility. It's not pride or arrogance. And if we meet, someone who's saying they're spiritually realized, but they are displaying a pride or an arrogance, then we can understand. According to Bhagavad Gita, that's not what happens when we become recipients of knowledge. We are actually put into our place. We actually understand our position in relationship to the universe. Arjuna is seeing his position in relationship to the universe, which is only a fragment of the potency of God. Because there's millions of universes that manifest from Mahavishnu's body when there's creation. But he's seen this one universe and becoming overwhelmed by the notion or the concept of how powerful God is. So he's experiencing ecstasy here. So what knowledge is humility, real knowledge, manifest humility within the heart. What else? It causes transformation. Transformation of the heart, the mind, and the body. I remember, I think, one class, Trish was sharing with us, the more she's hearing Bhagavad Gita, the more things will start to connect for her. And that's a natural evolution. That's what happens when we expose ourselves to sacred text, sacred wisdom that's there in the Bhagavad Gita. It's not like we become intellectual. We become realized. What does realized mean? Realized means we begin to understand what our position is, and we begin to act according to that position. So what is Arjuna doing? He's realizing in relationship to the universe, the universal form, which is just a spark of the splendor of the Supreme. He is realizing his position. And what is the result of that? Humility. He bows his head. Because in Vedic culture, bowing our head is a symptom of humility, a recognition of my finite position in relationship to the world. So authentic spiritual experiences produces humility, and it destroys false ego, that I am God or that I am so great. It doesn't create low self-esteem. There is a distinction, a very strong distinction between low self-esteem and humility. Humility means legitimately recognizing my position in relationship to God and all that he is and all that he creates. Low self-esteem means I don't think much of myself. No, humility means not that I think less of myself and more of God, and not less of myself in a derogatory sense. Because when we're immersed in the material world, we're thinking about me, 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 and me. Everything is in relationship. I become the center of the universe. And everything that I do is in relationship to how can I be happy? How can I enjoy in this world? And we're always thinking, in relationship to me and my acquisition, my happiness, my, everything in relationship to what can it do? What have you done for me lately? And that's why, there's the difficulty in relationships on a material level. Because if everyone is thinking me first and foremost, and then you put two people together and they're both thinking of themselves first and foremost, and there's no demonstration of appreciation or gratitude for the qualities the other person has, and that appreciation that I want to be understood. This is the common manifestation of false ego. You don't understand me. If you understand me, you wouldn't behave like this. I want to be understood. It's a common manifestation of being in the false ego, thinking everything in relationship to myself. So I want to be understood, but as far as one who's more present about who they are, more self-realized, they want to understand the other person. They see that it's important in relationship to not just put forth me being understood and you don't understand me. I know. I don't know how many times my son said that to me. Dad, you don't understand me. I was 12 years old once, son. No, but you're not really understanding me. Oh, okay. So we want to be understood. This is kind of a mature stage of development. Immature, rather, I'm sorry. Immature stage of a development. But as we mature spiritually, we begin to understand, to know that it is important to understand others also, especially in relationship. So real realization that we're having on a spiritual level, there's proof that you're advancing. Can you understand others and stop demanding to be understood and making that first and foremost? Can you forgive? Is there the ability to forgive? There are different ways that we manifest. Our hearts become transformed. Our bodies become transformed. Our minds become transformed. And how is that so? We begin to see what we have. Number one, we're grateful for what we have. And in that gratitude, we show our respect. We bow down to God. This is what Arjuna is doing right now. Arjuna is bowing down and he's offering prayers because now he's beginning to see in relationship to the Supreme his finite position and thus the subservience that must be there in relation. So authentic spiritual experience will cause humility and transformation. Verses 15 through 18, we read that, my dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. So here we have many. We have the use of many, many arms, many bellies, many mouths, many eyes, expanded everywhere, unlimitedly, without limit. I see in you no end, limitless, no middle, no beginning. Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence spreading on all sides like blazing fire or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs. It's there, it's brilliant, it's blinding, but yet Arjuna is given the ability to see the form which is emanating that radiance. In the Shishupanishad, Hiranmayena Patrena, that the effulgence, remove that effulgence so I can see your beautiful form. Arjuna will say that in the upcoming verses. Text 18, you are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible and you are the oldest. You are without origin, middle, and end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms. Again, numberless. The sun, moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning the entire universe by your own radiance. That when there is destruction, there's usually reference to burning, the burning of the universe. So that potency is being witnessed. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. So that's the end of our section today. It's 8:01. Went over just a tiny bit today because there was so much there. So I will open up the for discussion. Anyone would like to share any observation or realization or takeaway points, or if you have a question that you would like to ask, please feel free to do so. Anyone? Yeah, come on. What do you think of what Krishna is saying here? Trish, any observation that you would like to share? Hey, there's Haryasha, my dear friend from Philly.
I'm exhausted. You were taking us on such a ride, and I love hearing the Gita. And you started off with the connecting the opulence, with this point now that the universal form. You have it. Oh, so these the opulence. Can I see them? I want to see that form. And then you went on. And you've been filling in so many fine points. The relationship. I'm exhausted. I had too much fun. And I want to embrace it all. It was so wonderful. It was so well done, so informative. I mean, and then you were bouncing back to the second chapter. You took us up in the fourth. You were guiding us, letting us see Arjuna as a person, the transformation of Arjuna's consciousness from the first. I was thinking one question. Arjuna was bewildered twice. He was bewildered in the first chapter due to attachment and in his situation, but the bewilderment here turns to awe. And you just never stopped. And then you went to let us feel while he was in awe, as you explained, and the radiance and what Arjuna was singing. And so we could see through Arjuna, as Krishna speaking, we could see through Arjuna's eyes. We could see that, but we could feel it. We're empathizing. I just thought it was so wonderful. And you're giving so much solid, very concrete information about us, our relation with the universe, seeing from different aspects of the Supreme. You did it. You were explaining it, so I was appreciating.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when we get absorbed. It doesn't mean we have to get absorbed like that on a half a chapter or whatever. It just we can take. And I've petitioned everyone to take one verse from the Bhagavad Gita and meditate on it, because this is not just casual reading. This is meant to be a meditation for our liberation from the shackles of our false ego. That's the potency of what we have in Bhagavad Gita. That's why I love it so much. It's because after I get exhausted too. When I click the end button, I go like there's like so much there, and I'm like trying to check myself from not getting too. But Bhagavad Gita is an emotional book.
Yes.
When I realized that there's a lot of emotion here. Arjuna's emotional in the first chapter. He's breaking down. Krishna's emotional. He's laughing at Arjuna. Why are you doing this? And then, all the various emotions that come up as Krishna takes Arjuna down the evolutionary path of spiritual development. And that's what Krishna is doing for us. Arjuna is already there. By the 11th chapter, Arjuna has no doubt, but for us, just to help us. If there's a sticking point, if there's a bump in our road, Arjuna's helping. He's asking questions. He asks so many questions, and that's to get us over the hump, to
You let
help us.
you let us see and experience that love. That ultimately that relationship is taking us to experiencing the love of the relationship with Krishna. Krishna's love is amazing, the way he's loving us. And anyway, it's so many wonderful. I'm sorry for the 2 weeks that I didn't come. It's because I wound up with company, but I won't be missing.
Well, you're the revolving door of Philadelphia for the devotees. So, Trish, do you have a question? Thank you, Haryashva, for your contribution.
Uh, I was thinking about the idea of all the gods and all the eyes being part of the ultimate transcendental form, is that all of those gods and demigods are one, and that all eyes are God's eyes,
Yeah,
and
the
that
power,
omnipresent.
the power to see is coming from the Lord. But the philosophy of our Bhakti Yoga system here is that simultaneously one, but there's difference. So we have the qualities of God, which is Sat, Chit, and Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. We have that. The distinction that our Bhakti Yoga system makes is we have it, but we don't have it to the degree that God has it. He possesses Satchit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss, in infinite, quantitatively, infinitely. We only have it finitely. And what the great ancients, the wise ancients, the analogy that they use through the centuries is the drop of water, ocean water, and the ocean. The drop of ocean water has salt in it and the various minerals there that the ocean has. So it has the qualities of the ocean, but it's just a drop. So the living entity, the soul, has those qualities of eternality. We're eternal beings. And as long as we relate to ourselves as this temporary being, we're going to suffer because we don't want to end. Does anybody want to end other than a person who's not stable in mind? Do we want to end? No, we want to continue on. Why? Because it's really our nature. That's really our nature. And whether we're conscious of it, and we become conscious of it by reading Bhagavad Gita and hearing, the various ways that Krishna presents it, and then we become conscious of it. Or even if we're not conscious of it, we're subconsciously of it. We don't want to die. Where does
Right.
that notion come? If we're the body and the mind, where does that come from? The body and mind die.
Right. And that piece
We
of that jiva is that piece of the super soul that goes back to the ocean. drop.
It's the soul, not the super soul. Super soul is different. Super soul is a manifestation of God Himself that appears with us. So everybody has two souls. The Paramatma, the super soul, which is guiding us, giving us intelligence or giving us the ability to forget Him, and the soul themselves, like the soul that's motivating your body, my soul, etc.
And that's the jiva.
That's the jiva.
Okay.
That's the finite.
Mhm.
The finite. That's the
The drop.
tiny. The drop. Right.
Mm.
So qualitative. We have the qualities. That's called that. That energy is called Brahman. That's how we are part of Brahman. But from the perspective of our yoga system, the light or the oneness of Brahman is simply all of the jivas and all the brilliance of the jivas. But within that brilliance of Brahman is the finite jiva contributing to that oneness. It's contributing. It's not losing its individuality. Krishna says here, you don't lose your individuality. You don't enter into Brahman and then you become it, or you never or anything else but Brahman, and your individuality is illusion. That's the Advaita philosophy. The Bhakti Yoga philosophy that we follow says, no, you're always individual. You never lose that individuality. And the goal of you as a soul in your individuality is love. It's loving relationship. That's our goal. Our goal is not to get rid of what we actually is the beauty of our existence. It's the individuality and to experience the height of that individuality through loving relationship. Because where does love take its meaning? It takes its meaning when we're in a relationship with another. That's where love takes its meaning. We don't want to become sugar. We want to taste sugar. So it's not that we want to become God, but we want to taste our loving relationship with God. There's nothing, according to the Bhakti Yoga system, as espoused by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's nothing more powerful an experience than that. And when we experience it, there's nothing more satisfying. There's nothing that creates santosh, the sense of contentment, other than that experience, that love experience.
Thank
Okay?
you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything they would like to say or share, or any takeaway point? One little point that might have been mentioned that was like, aha, yeah, okay. It's a lot. Haryashva expressed it. It's kind of a freight train of knowledge that Krishna is giving us in this 11th chapter.
Well,
But
it's your presentation. It's what you're giving. It's true, Krishna has given us a lot, but I feel that the audience is very fortunate because you're giving it, you're connecting the storyline, and then you're filling in the blanks, and you're giving extra bonus uh, understanding. And we
bonus
hear
points.
relationship. You're just giving so much, and I appreciate it. I mean, that's what we're here for. Um, yeah, it's very wonderful.
Otherwise, the knowledge, this transcendental knowledge has to be potent like that because Maya is potent. The influence of the material energy, which creates the illusion that we're this body, is powerful. Krishna says that. Daiviyesha gunamaye, mama maya dharatya. This material energy is powerful because it's my energy. And this energy has a purpose, and it's my purpose. So the knowledge that we're getting from Bhagavad Gita and from Srimad Bhagavatam has to have that potency in order to break, shatter the illusion that we're under, that we're the body, and our enjoyment will come from investing our energy in the body and the mind. So that's why, Krishna is giving us that knowledge, and he's given us the ability to connect the dots. I use that analogy in my own case. When I first started getting into Krishna consciousness and bhakti in a serious way, there were dots here and there, Oh, there's a soul. Okay, yeah, I can see that. That's one dot. And then there's God. That's another dot. But is that dot of God the same as the soul? Is it one dot? And then, no, it's not. It's two different dots, two separate dots. And then there's the material energy. It's another dot. And there was like all these dots were coming onto my palette, my drawing. And then the more I studied Prabhupada's teachings and listened to Prabhupada and studied his commentaries, and he started connecting the dots. And then all of a sudden there's a picture. And all of a sudden that picture has a flute and a peacock feather. My son drew a great picture of Krishna. He gave it as a present to Radhanath Swami. And then I said to him, you gave Radhanath Swami Krishna, but you didn't give him Radha. He said, oh, yeah, you're right, Dad. And then he sat down and he drew Radha. Just beautiful, right from his head, just beautiful picture of Radha. I wish I could show everybody. I don't know if you'd be able to see it if I showed it to you. I have it here. But it's just, I am the ability in man, Krishna says, right? And so you see a little 12-year-old boy able to convey on paper Radha and Krishna. That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, to whatever degree. I have it here. Ah, here it is. I don't know if you guys can see this. Tell me if you can see.
Part of it,
Anybody?
yes.
Oh, there it is.
Beautiful. Oh, I went back out.
Oh,
It's hard with the camera. Oh, there it is.
yeah, there it is.
Beautiful.
Sweet, sweet. My dear Lord's form.
So, these are the kinds of things that kinds of the aspects of reality that we're exposed to, and even a 12-year-old boy, can be blessed with a glimpse of it. So, don't be afraid. It's like the first time you went on the roller coaster ride, right? You're afraid, right? Ah, screaming. And you get off it and you say, wow, that was fun. So don't be afraid of where this knowledge can lead you. It can lead you to your true ecstatic spiritual essence. That's where it can lead us. So if no one has any question or comment, I will end our class. And I hope those of you that are local, that this Saturday and Sunday, the grand opening of our Radha Govinda Mandir here in Boca Raton. And if you don't have the address or the information, there is a flyer I could forward to you. Just get in touch with me. And I think it starts at 3:30, but 2 days of celebrating the grand opening of this wonderful place. It's a very nice environment there. they rented a space. I guess it's about 2,300 square feet of space. And in October, we're having a nice altar made, very similar to my altar here at my house, made by the same devotee in Vrindavan. So if you're local, please come and share with us the joy of the opening of this experience. And this place will be not only open on the weekends, but we'll be able to use it during the week for kirtan or any other event that people are proposing. So it's going to be a facility for those seekers, those on their journey. And we heartily encourage you to please come and take part of it with us. Okay, we'll see you. Hopefully, I'll see some of you, like Trish and Angelica, on Thursday. So we'll be able to do a warm up of the weekend on Thursday night. It's going to be probably at the Womb, right? Because
Lauren posted that it was at Core Strong, so I'm not
Oh,
sure.
good. Oh, okay, good. Because maybe they can't do it at the Womb. That's perfect. Because
It's a,
poor
yeah, I'm
Master
not sure if it was a
Mahamud.
mistake or not. We should check.
Okay, yeah, we'll check, make sure. But we'll see you all that attend that, and those of you that are local, if you want to come and chant with us, please feel free to do so. And if not, come on Saturday or Sunday or both. Depends how much ecstasy you can handle. All right. Thanks so much, folks.
you.
Have a
Thank you.
happy, healthy, and holy week. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.